Hey everybody, it's John. I just wanted to let you know that earlier today, November 1st, 2015, I was honored to give a talk at a fire hall in Western Maryland about blood donations and how Juliana's received over 100 transfusions. I was supposed to do a live shot from Facebook, and the internet connection wasn't that great, so I thank the Lord I had a backup camera, which is this one, to record the speech. So this is the speech as I was sharing it on November 1st in Western Maryland. Hope you get something out of it. And again, the whole focus, the whole intent of the talk was to share a little tiny piece of our story and to encourage people to donate blood. So here you go.
Everyone in this room is what makes the American Red Cross possible. So again, that is from my heart. I wanted to keep my comments very brief. We have a wonderful guest speaker here who's going to share some stories, some family history that is going to kind of help you understand the importance of the work that you do. But I want to say it again, what you do is very important, and I thank you from my heart. And John Carver, he has served on the Chesapeake and Potomac Biomedical Board, and I'm very pleased to introduce him. I also spoke to him about joining our Western Maryland board. So, John, thank you for being out here. And
thank you for the invite. I'm honored by it. My goal today is to share a story, only several stories, to hopefully share with you what you do and how important what you do really is. Back in 1988, my wife and I got married, and we tried to have children for about 9 years. Couldn't have children. So between 1998 and 2003, we adopted 6 children from overseas. Hence the gray hair, hence not so much on top. But that's another story for another speech. Right around 2007, our youngest girl, Juliana, was 5 years old. And one day she came down the steps and said, "Mommy, I have a bump under my arm. I'm not sure what it is." Now, she's 5 years old, so imagine how the 5-year-old would say these words. So we knew something was wrong because the bump under her arm was pretty big, which we didn't know it because it was in the colder months. So in the colder months, the kids aren't out swimming, so you can't really see these things. So we took her to see the doctor that she had been seeing since we adopted her. And they sent her to a specialist, and we found out, long story short, that she had cancer in her right arm. I can't spell what it's called, but it's called rhabdomyosarcoma. If my wife was here, she could spell it. Because, us guys, we tend to marry up, don't we? Right, guys? Like, she getting a big grunt here, right? Right, guys? Oh, right. So I married way up. So she's 5 years old, went through treatment, went through a barrage of medicine, and she lost her hair, of course. And still as a 5-year-old, you don't really understand the impact of what the big C really means. So after roughly a year or so of her being treated, the burns she had on her from treatment were really bad. She was very sick, vomited all the time, had diarrhea all the time. It was really bad. Got lots of transfusions, but she beat it. So she started getting her hair back, and she started to live again. We thought, finally, we beat the big C. Some people don't get the opportunity to beat the big C. Well, she did. So 2012 rolls around, and we noticed that she started getting a bump in her right leg, in her right thigh. So knowing what we had been through a few years before, we realized that it was very likely that this disease was back again. So we took her back to the hospital, the doctors, and did all the homework that we did before, and yes, the cancer was back for a second time. This time, it went from her right arm to her right leg. So prior to this, back when she first got sick, the doctors were talking about amputation. You know, when cancer's in the arm, you amputate the limb and the cancer will be gone. Well, we knew that that was not the answer for us. So we didn't do any amputations. So she went through all the stuff all over again. She didn't, for some reason, this time around, she didn't lose all her hair. She just lost the top part of her hair. So the back was still long. So she went through a barrage of treatment and beat it. So 2012, this started. So 2013 rolled around, and we were actually in a graveyard, of all places. My wife's uncle passed away. So we were there after the event, and the guys talking about the uncle and do all the stuff that preachers do. So all of a sudden, Juliana says, "Mommy, I think I'm going to faint. I'm in a lot of pain since 2012." So as parents, we began to realize that there was something really wrong. So this time, we rushed her to the hospital, and this time the disease was back again. This time, it was in her chest and pelvis. The disease was wrapped around her aorta, so if it would have squeezed a little bit more, she would have bled out. And she was days away from not being able to walk because it was wrapped around some veins down below. So we rushed her to the hospital, and they put her on a lot of medications to stop the tumors from squeezing, and they had her on some other meds to try to keep her legs operating. So this is now, the third time she's had cancer. So all during these times, she's had multiple transfusions, many transfusions, because when you're on treatment, your blood counts drop a lot. And for our daughter, that when they drop, she doesn't have the energy to run, she doesn't have the energy to play, she can't ride the bike, she can't swim in her pool at all. In fact, when her counts are down, I have to carry her upstairs at night to take a bath or go to bed, because she just doesn't have the energy to go up the steps. So we got her treated, and within roughly, it was crazy how it happened, but within about 2 months of treatment, the disease was gone. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story, a side story. The doctor, we had scans done, of course, after weeks of care. So her doctor calls me up. I was on the road at the time, and he says, "John, I have some news to tell you." Well, I've been around this tree a couple of times, so I wasn't sure what the news was going to be, so I pulled off the side of the road. Now, this was about 8 to 10 weeks after treatment started the third time around. Okay, so she first had it in her arm, then her leg, then her chest, and down here. So I just thought the worst was there was no hope. So he calls me up, he says, "John, I have some news for you." I says, "What's the news?" I'm sitting on the side of the road. He goes, "We can't find any evidence of disease at all." He goes, "I don't smoke, but I'm going to go out and smoke." Of course, he was joking. I said, "I don't drink, so I'm going to go out to a bar and get drunk." Because if you can smoke and you don't smoke, and so the point is that we were very, very happy that she was at least reasonably healthy again. So again, all during this time, she was getting transfusions. At some point, she was getting multiple transfusions a week because the medicine that she was on to help treat her was so intense that it would just really mess her up. She would bump her arm or her leg, and there would be a bruise there because her platelets were low. So she had multiple platelet transfusions, multiple blood transfusions. Now this is 2013, excuse me. So she's had it now 3 times. So for those who don't know me, I take pictures all the time. Video, if if you go to YouTube, there's hundreds and hundreds of videos of our girl through the first time she got sick until now. So you can actually see exactly what happened. So one day I'm snapping a photograph of her, and something's a little weird. Her right eye is droopy, and I didn't notice it was drooping before. So mind you, she was on treatment when I was taking these photographs. She had gotten her hair back, and she was doing well, or we thought well. So I said, Tammy, we need to look into this. So we took her to the hospital. That's my wife. So we took her to the hospital, and the cancer was back, this time above her right eye. That's why her eye was starting to droop. So you can actually feel it, above her eye. So within a couple of weeks of finding out that it was back, she had an operation on her eye to remove as much as possible, went on chemo again to try to get rid of it again, and she was on treatment. So things were getting pretty crazy because, when you have a child that is ill, you don't know. In fact, I still don't know right now every day when I get up. And she's, by the way, this is all live, so people around the world are going to be hearing this and seeing y'all. So wave over there and say hi, everybody. Just wave and say hi. I forgot to tell you, it's all live. She has thousands of fans around the world. Almost 2 million people have watched her videos online. She has about 12,600 fans now on Facebook because people care. People want to know what's going on with her story. So the day came when she was still on treatment, and July 1st came around, and it's a long story how it happened, but we were able to have lunch with Chef Robert Irvine. Does anybody not know who that is? Well, he's a famous chef, and he wanted us there, so he had lunch with us at a store, a giant food store down South Bay. So we had a great time, and things were going really well. Until about 2 weeks after that, Juliana started having pain in her side. Now, Juliana is not a whiner. In fact, she is not much into people who whine at all. In fact, she says whining is for babies. So those of us that have an ingrown toenail or, a headache or a stomach ache or maybe have a little off or acting up when you hear it in there, Juliana doesn't want to hear it, because Juliana's been through it now 4 times. So July, mid part of the month or so, she's complaining about a lot of pain on her side, and we're not sure what in the world's going on. So I proceeded to encourage my wife, we need to get her to the doctor ASAP. So you can imagine what the next sentence is going to be. We found out that the big C was back for the 5th time. This time, 3 cancerous spots, one by her port, she has a port in her chest, has had for a while, one near her heart, and one wrapped around from her mid part around back to her spine, because she started telling us that part of her tummy is numb. There's a circle by her tummy that she can't feel, which was a sign that the cancer is messing with her spine. So we, of course, go into panic mode and put her through a bunch of treatment. She's still in treatment now. She had chemo 5 days this past week. Sick of the dog this morning, throwing out the whole 9 yards because of chemo. So she's bald as of right now. But as of last scans, the 3 tumors now are down to 1 tumor. And the one that was the largest one is now half the size. So that's a big, thank God, right? So let me back up a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months now. We were told that there's a study, our trial, that Johns Hopkins has that will allow her to have a bone marrow transplant. Well, all 6 of our kids are adopted from overseas. And if you've ever known anybody who adopted overseas, you don't know diddly squat about the families of the adopted children. So I thought, I can't lose, so I sent out emails to the embassies here in the States and overseas. And within about, I'll say roughly a month, they found the birth mother of Juliana, which is more of a miracle than I can express to you. Long story short, we're now in negotiation with, we're going to start airfare things, and in the next roughly month and a half, we're going to fly birth mom over here to do a bone marrow transplant for Juliana, to hopefully rid her of this evil disease once and for all. Now that's the backstory of what I really want to talk to you about for just a few minutes or so here. I mentioned before that Juliana has had multiple transfusions. In fact, right now she has had about 103 to be exact, either blood or platelet transfusions. Now you say, my job here, what I do, whether it's driving a truck, whether it's carrying a truck, whether it's I have a pen in my hand, whether it's making a phone call, whether it's knocking on a door, is not that important. May I suggest to you, as a dad who desperately wants his little girl to make it, what you do is more important than you can believe. As I said earlier, that when Juliana's blood counts drop, she sits on the sofa literally for hours a day and just rocks back and forth because she has no energy to do anything else. When she doesn't have enough blood in her body because of the care she has to get rid of herself from this illness, she can't play with the other 5 kids. She can't play with the little dog that we got for her when she had it for I lose track. I think the 3rd time when she got it, we thought she was done. So we went and got her a dog. I swore, 6 kids, you don't need a dog in your house. You know what I'm saying? You don't need another mouth to feed. So we got her a dog. So when her counts are down, she can't play with the dog. She has no energy to do it. But after a transfusion, she comes home, and these are her almost approximate actions. Daddy, I feel good. I feel better. She's got color in her face again. She runs and plays. I said, you need any help going upstairs? Nope, Dad, I'm good, I'm good. Her answer is always, I'm good, I'm good. Because of what you do. You see, well, I don't donate gallons of blood a year or however much. No, you might not. But you help people understand the impact of donating blood. You see, I came up with this little quote that's probably not my original quote, so don't tell anybody. But there's power in your blood. There's power in the blood of people that you're trying to get to donate blood because they're scared of a little stick in their arm. Isn't that something? How a little girl can go through cancer now 5 times and people are afraid of a little stick, but that's a whole other sermon, isn't it? I'm not going to get distracted there. But what you guys do literally saves and has saved my little girl's life. Who knows that maybe one of the phone calls you made at some point in the last 8 years eventually ended up in my little girl's body that enabled her, the blood, by the way, from that phone call, that enabled her that day or that week to swim in her pool. Maybe that phone call, maybe that drive you took from point A to point B, hauling blood and or other products, ended up in my little girl, Juliana, that enabled her to go to a party, or that enabled her to play with the other kids, or to just hang out, or just be a normal little girl. You see, there's power in your blood. There's power. What you do impacts more than just you. It impacts so much more than my little girl. Because you see, my little girl's life is now impacting almost 2 million people because of you. Not because of me, I'm just dad. But because of what you do. So anytime you have a doubt of maybe, I don't do much. Or, I try to do this, or I've been doing this for decades, or years, or months, or I'm trying to impact young people to understand how important it is, like Abraham over here. Abraham is trying to impact young people to understand how important it is to change people's lives. I thought once upon a time that I had to have millions of dollars to change people's lives. Because, we've adopted 6 kids. That's about $110,000 in adoption fees. It's not peanuts. That's another talk. It's another sermon. But what you do, the impact you have on people like my little girl goes so, so far. Because of your selflessness, you know, there's been times, I'm sure, that you may have been tempted to stay home on a certain day, or not to go out to this call, or to not do the things that maybe you didn't really want to do, but you went out there and made a difference anyway. I'm telling you right now that there's power in what you do. Because what you are doing is changing not only my daughter's life, but she's just one little example, one little story, one little girl who just wants to live, who just wants to be a little girl. She's about the size of a 10-year-old because she can't grow because of all this treatment. But she's able to play. She's able to try to be a little girl as much as possible because of everything you do. So what I'm going to encourage you today is, I hope in this short little talk, is this is giving you a bigger why in your life. Because all of us have whys in our life. Let me explain. You get up and go to work. Why? Because poverty sucks. Right? Being homeless sucks. You pay your car payment because it's better than them coming and taking your car away, right? You take a shower every day because you don't want to smell, right? What you do for the American Red Cross is more powerful than you can imagine. I'm hoping that Juliana's story here today, in brief, this is like a 3-hour story if I told you all the details of all 6 kids. Well, you'd blow your mind. I'm asking you today to not forget the importance of what you do. I'd like you to follow her journey on Angels for Juliana on Facebook. She has about 12,000 and some people now that track her every moment. They're watching live right now because they want to know more about her story. So from a dad who wants to see his daughter grow up and me walk her down the aisle and to hold her babies one day, thank you for all you do. It means more than I can tell you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Juliana Carver, and that's me up there. And I have got 93 blood transfusions. So if you can give blood, it would really mean a lot to me. So thank you.